Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take your source material articles, notes, maybe some research, and we turn it into, well, pure actionable knowledge. Today, we're diving into the world of ornamental fish keeping, specifically looking at that point where, something truly beautiful meets a real, unavoidable cost. Our subject, the magnificent marble angelfish. If you've ever looked at a fish tank and felt that pull, that aspiration, but then immediately felt a bit of caution about the price tag, then you're exactly where our source material kicks off. The marble angelfish really stands out. It's got these stunning, irregular, swirling patches of black and white, almost like they're painted on.
And the source author gives some really crucial context for that feeling of awe.
Yeah.
They detail their own past failures trying to keep and breed angelfish generally.
Right, yeah.
Citing things like, high costs, maybe not having the experience back then, and just the sheer difficulty of finding a compatible pair, one that would actually breed.
That history really sets the stage for what we're talking about today. Why does this specific fish, the marble angelfish, have a price tag like MYR 58 per fish?
Yeah, MYR 58. What is that in US dollars, roughly?
It depends on the day, but around $12, maybe $13. But for someone in the hobby, that price, it's significant. It can easily be, 5 to 10 times the cost of a standard common angelfish?
Exactly.
So our mission today is to show you precisely why that price makes sense. It's not just some arbitrary markup. It's more like a receipt for generations of genetic work.
That's a good way to put it. We really need to understand this isn't about finding a pretty fish in the wild, like in the Amazon or something. This price reflects a huge effort in selective breeding. It's a very directed, multi-generational human project. The key thing we're trying to unlock here is just how difficult, how long that process is to get that desirable marbled look and, crucially, to make it stable.
Okay, let's unpack that. It sounds like a huge task. How does a breeder actually go from, the basic angelfish look to this almost artistic swirly pattern? Sounds a bit like genetic wizardry.
Well, it definitely requires some wizard-level planning, that's for sure. What's really fascinating is where they start. The sources make it clear. This whole selective breeding journey for the marble angelfish, it usually begins with fish that have what they call native looks. Mostly that means the zebra pattern.
Okay, so the zebra pattern, help me visualize that. That's the really clean look, right?
Yeah.
Silver body, those straight vertical black lines.
Exactly. Very structured, predictable. Genetically, it's pretty straightforward.
Right.
And the goal is to get from that structured, simple pattern to the, chaotic, random, swirling look that defines the marble. This means selecting for multiple genes, ones that interact in really complex ways, polygenic traits, they call them. So it's not as simple as just breeding two marble fish together and hoping for the best. You have to kind of coax out the expression of those messy, complicated genes.
So you're kind of fighting against genetic randomness. Like if you breed two fish with this pattern, why wouldn't all the babies, the fry, look the same?
That's exactly the battle. The marble pattern is irregular, and controlling irregularity is way harder than just breeding for those simple zebra stripes. Breeders have to dedicate years, and we're talking multiple fish generations here, just identifying, isolating, and then reinforcing that pattern they want.
Years. Wow.
Yeah, because if the pattern is linked to unstable genetics, you might get a beautiful fish in one generation, but its offspring, they could just revert right back to that simpler native look. So the breeder is playing a very long game.
And that brings us to the really critical step, doesn't it? The one that explains the price. It's not just about getting the marble pattern to show up once or twice. The real value comes from achieving predictability, what the industry calls stability.
Exactly right. Once that marble trait finally appears, and often it's only in a small percentage of the fry at first,
Right.
The breeder then has to work for several more generations. We could be talking up to 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years, just for stability.
Just to achieve a stable genetic trait, which means the pattern becomes consistently reproducible. Batch after batch, they need a high degree of confidence that it'll show up.
Okay, so what does stability actually mean, like in practical terms for the breeder?
It's the difference between a random fluke, something you can't really sell reliably,
Yeah.
and a genuinely marketable product. We're talking about getting predictable results.
Sure.
Ideally, you want, say, over 90%, maybe even 95% of the fry in a large batch, showing that high-quality, stable marble pattern.
95%.
Yeah. Anything less than that, and you're just dealing with too much randomness, too many costly failures.
Okay, this is really getting to the core of the cost justification. This is where the source material spells out why that MYR 58 price tag exists. We're not just paying for the fish you see in the tank, we're paying for all the sacrifice that went into making it. So The genetics are the challenge. What are the big costs the breeder faces while they're waiting for this stability? The source mentioned three main things, right? Three non-monetary pillars of effort.
That's right. The first one is just the sheer time commitment. We said years, but think about what that really means. A breeder might spend a year, maybe two, just getting a good breeding pair established. Then they wait through multiple generations. Each one takes months. And they're just evaluating, is the trait stable yet?
That's a huge opportunity cost.
Exactly. All that time, they could have spent breeding simpler fish, faster fish, cheaper fish. That cost is built right into the MYR58 price. They're essentially betting years of their time and resources on a specific genetic outcome.
Okay, time is one. What's the second pillar?
It's incredibly labor-intensive.
More than just basic fish keeping.
Oh, way more. To achieve stability, you need serious infrastructure. You need lots of separate tanks for isolating fish, for controlled pairings. You need very specific water parameters, high-quality food. You're trying to get the breeding stock to perform at its absolute peak.
Right.
And it's constant, meticulous work. Daily monitoring, keeping careful records of who bred with who, tracking lineage, and isolating hundreds, maybe even thousands, of fry across different generations just to see what percentage inherits the trait you want.
Wow, thousands. Okay, and that leads right into the third pillar. This one sounds maybe the toughest. The use of culls. Let's be clear about this. For someone new to this, culling sounds harsh. What's the reality of it in selective breeding, and how does that justify the expense?
Yeah, this is really the key aha moment, I think, about how rigorous this whole process is. Culling is necessary. You have to do it to maintain the integrity of the genetic line and actually make progress towards that stability goal. In simple terms, culling just means removing or maybe separating out the fish that don't show the trait you want, or sometimes worse, fish that show undesirable genetic faults.
So it's about focusing the genetic pool.
Precisely. Think of it like a sculptor. They might have to smash 9 perfectly decent statues that are good, but maybe just slightly imperfect, to create that one masterpiece that meets their absolute highest standards.
It's a powerful analogy.
That's the kind of cost baked into that successful marble angelfish. Only the ones that are genetically right, the ones that show stable traits, are allowed to continue the line, or they're the only ones deemed good enough to sell at that MYR58 price point.
So the few fish that actually make it to the market, they're essentially carrying the cost burden. The cost of every failed pairing, every tank that led to a dead end, every generation that had to be culled.
That sums it up perfectly.
Yeah.
When you connect it all back, that MYR58 price reflects the breeder's cumulative loss, in a way. They're selling this highly refined product that required incredible amounts of, waste, time, space, biological output just to achieve it. And that intense difficulty, combined with the resulting limited supply of stable fish, that directly explains the high demand and the premium price among serious hobbyists.
Right. So once they finally achieve that genetic stability, it stops being just a science project. It becomes a really valuable market commodity.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the demand side of things. It's not only the difficulty of breeding the marble pattern itself, is it? It's also about the popularity of the whole family of these fancy angelfish variations.
That's a crucial point. Once a breeder manages to lock in that stable marble gene, they haven't just created one fish. They've created a genetic foundation, a platform for a whole family of other high-value variations. So the high demand isn't just for the basic marble, it's fueled by people wanting these related strains too.
Can you give an example? How does the basic marble pattern enable these other fancy types?
Sure. Our source specifically mentions popular variations that are built on the marble pattern. Things like the gold angelfish or the diamond angelfish.
Okay.
These often involve taking the stable marble pattern and then adding another desirable trait on top. Maybe something like scale reflectivity, that's the diamond, or a specific metallic coloration for the gold.
So the marble pattern becomes like a canvas.
Exactly, a genetic canvas. Because that base marble trait is stable, breeders can confidently experiment with adding other factors. They don't have to worry as much about losing the primary pattern. And the success and popularity of these other variations like gold and diamond, they just further drive the overall demand for a reliable, stable base marble pattern. It keeps the market strong for this kind of sophisticated, high-cost breeding. People are willing to pay that MYR58, and sometimes, honestly, much more for the variations.
So, thinking about the listener, what does all this really mean for you? When you see a fish like this, maybe in a high-end pet store or at a fish show, you're not just buying a pretty animal, are you?
Not at all. You're basically purchasing a piece of carefully curated, intensely labored genetic history. You're buying the end result of maybe a decade-long breeding project, one that somehow managed to navigate all those time-consuming, labor-intensive hurdles, and finally achieve genetic stability against pretty tough odds. That single animal represents a massive investment of expertise, time, and infrastructure.
Okay, let's try to wrap this up then, bring it all back together. Our deep dive today has shown that the marble angelfish price, that MYR58, is really a direct result of intense multi-generational selective breeding.
Hmm.
The difficulty is huge steering complex genetics away from a simple zebra stripe towards this desirable swirling trait, and then critically making it stable.
Yeah.
And that whole process demands enormous amounts of time, intense labor, and the rigorous use of culls over many, many generations.
And that brings us right back to where the source author started, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That feeling of aspiration mixed with caution. We've established the true financial cost now, but it raises a really important final thought, I think, for any serious hobbyist or maybe a collector out there. How do you balance that high financial cost, the MIR 58, or potentially way more for variations, with the investment of expertise that's also needed?
Ah, right. Buying the fish is just step one.
Exactly. The knowledge you need to properly maintain that fish, to respect its genetic heritage, maybe even sustain it. That's a knowledge investment just as much as a financial one. Can you truly appreciate and care for the incredible amount of labor that went into creating the animal you just acquired? It's something to think about.